I'd like to bring Board President Steve Jones back to the dais and present the Bobby J. Fowler Award and the President's Award.
Thank you, sir. Can you grab a seat? Thank you, Terry. It says right here you were doing a great job emceeing our annual banquet. Let's give Terry a round of applause, please. The Bobby J. Fowler Award is the most prestigious award presented by the International Code Council. The award honors the memory of the first chairman of the ICC Board of Directors. Bobby was a visionary for the consolidation of the model code industry. The Bobby J. Fowler Award is presented to an individual for contributions to the building safety industry that advances ICC's goals of achieving a safer built environment. The recipient is a leader in our industry who has a legacy of service with integrity, professionalism, and compassion to further the noble cause of ICC. The 2014 recipient of the Bobby J. Fowler Award is Wally Bailey, Director of Development Services, Fort Smith, Arkansas. Before you ask, I am standing up. Hey, hold that 1 second. I'm proud to call Wally a friend and a colleague. In fact, he was president of the ICC board when I was first elected. I learned a lot from him, much of which helped me to serve on this board and as its president. Wally Bailey is a certified building official, inspector, plans examiner, rehabilitation construction specialist. He's a proven leader in our industry and established a legacy of service to the ICC, as well as other building safety and code-related organizations. He has served on the ICC and Southern Building Code Congress International Board of Directors. He is a member and past president of the Code Officials of Arkansas. He is a treasurer of the Board of Directors of the National Institute of Building Sciences, and he is an honorary member of the ICC and the Tennessee Building Officials Association. Wally is the one individual ICC has repeatedly relied on to oversee big projects. He chaired the ICC's Regions Committee, Governance Committee, and CDP Access Committee. He has given his time and support to support the mission of the ICC throughout his career. As president of the ICC, Wally introduced the idea of raising the profile of the code official, which resonates with all of us. He coined the term, "When we do our job, nothing happens." He also started a program to donate books to colleges, and Wally greatly expanded ICC's international efforts during his presidency. He reached out to Australia, New Zealand, and Canada to introduce the international codes and our association. The result was building valuable relationships that still exist today. Oh, Skog. The Ontario building officials recognize him with their International Award of Excellence. His service to the community reaches well beyond his role as a code official. He is a United Way volunteer and fundraiser, chair of the Sebastian County Public Health Facilities Board, chair of the Ream Classic PGA Board, member of the Fort Smith Charities Classic Foundation, and past president of the Sparks Regional Medical Center Advisory Board and trustee. Please join me in welcoming Wally Bailey, the 2014 Bobby J. Fowler Award recipient.
Well, first let me say, I don't know if I did the right thing when I appointed Terry to be the mentor for Steve. That was my doing, but it worked out pretty good, Steve. Bear with me for a little bit. There are several people that need to be thanked for the career that I've had and for what I'm being presented with this evening with the Bobby J. Fowler Award. First off, for the person or persons that saw in me to nominate me. I want to thank them. a thank you to the awards committee and to the board of directors for making the decision. As I've worked in the Southern Building Code Congress and most importantly the International Code Council, I worked with many board members, many of them sitting over here to my right, very close friends. Many of you sitting out there in the audience. Many of them are no longer with us. They all made me look good. Board members, committee members, and others that I've had the privilege of working with. Not just those members, those volunteer members, but also the staff persons. Many of them are sitting over here, I think to my left, and maybe some others sitting in other places, from the former Southern Building Code Congress to the International Code Council. They work diligently to make us as volunteers look as good as we possibly can. I want to also mention the Region 10, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas group. Thank you for all your support. I want to thank all the chapters that have made me an honorary member or just embraced me. All the individual members that embraced me when I first began my career as a code official from all over the United States. You know, today there were many people that were on the screen if you were in the business meeting, the memoriam that we remembered. We heard about Jerry Sanzone this evening. I served on committee with Jerry Sanzone years ago. There were other great persons on there like Billy Manning and Rick Vaudeville. Rick did a lot for the International Code Council. There were a lot of great people there that we're beginning to see that we're beginning to lose. But those people all paid a great price and did a lot for the International Code Council and all of what you're sitting here, what we're doing this evening. I have to say thank you to my employer. I've been with the city of Fort Smith since 1978. Worked with different mayors, worked with different city managers, worked with different bosses. And they've always been supportive of my efforts and my ability to work in the national and regional arena. I can't say enough about the diligent staff and Jimmy Deere, I don't know if he's sitting out here somewhere. Jimmy has come to the meetings with me. Jimmy and I have worked together since 1984 in the building department. And there's so many other staff persons at the city of Fort Smith that have come and gone that have also been very supportive. There's also a group of people that have provided me with a psychological therapy once a year. The PAT Club, led by their leader, Mr. Wicker. Some of you are members of that PAT Club, but you know who I'm talking about. They certainly helped me a lot get through one more year. There's also, you don't do this alone as a family. I've certainly been blessed with a very wonderful family. Many of you have met my children, Aaron and Asha, and many of you have not met my grandchildren, but if you haven't heard about them, I'm going to bring out my pictures now. No, there are too many stories and too many pictures, but if you have time after the banquet, we'll talk. And of course, most of you know my wife, Lynette. Yes. Without her, my world would have been probably mostly very black and white because that's probably the only clothes I would have bought. But no, it's not just because I'm particularly color challenged in certain things, but she has helped me a lot. But she's also, as many of you know, from the times when we were president and we traveled, many times she couldn't travel with me, but she was always there to help me. There were times when I was stressed, couldn't sleep. I could call her at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I did. 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and she was there. She deserves much of the credit and a large piece of this award. She deserves a lot of credit for me, my year as president, and years on the board, for the friendly face and the hospitality that we spent the time making friends nationally and internationally, growing the International Code Council, increasing the International Code Council family. So I want to say publicly thank Lynette for what she did for me and also for the International Code Council. She deserves just as much praise and thank yous is what you give upon me this evening. So would you please give her a round of applause? You know, when Joe Law, most of you know Joe, called me and said, we're going to come do a video, and some of you saw that today at lunch, and he gave me a list of questions and about 48 hours to get ready, and I was so dumbfounded, still shocked by the honor of the award that I don't know if I gave very good answers to many of the questions. I want to try to address a few of those questions this evening. You know, it's really difficult to say what this award means to me. You know, as I reflected on the award, I came to better understand who Bob Fowler was. I thought I knew, but the more as I've had time to think about it, reflect upon it, that I in some way helped Bob Fowler had a vision, and in my role, I helping Bob's vision come to fruition. I feel very humbled and honored that I'm being recognized and to be considered with Bob and all the previous winners of this award. It's interesting to hear also this evening and today and at this conference, and as still President Jones made the comment about so many people are still talking about some of our initiatives that we introduced in 2007, such as the Raising the Profile. Today at the town hall meeting, it was very interesting to hear one of the persons there in the meeting saying that's the most exciting thing he's heard since he's been at this conference. And it still resonates. It still is relevant to each and every code official in the United States. You know, it's hard to mention, and I'm sorry I cannot mention each of you by name, what each of you mean to me individually. Sitting throughout this audience, some of them are no longer with us. Some of them are at home working or wherever they might be. But I remembered a few situations and a few things that were said that I want to share with you, whether if you're a new code official, a rookie, or just a few years of tenure, or if you're sitting here with me, like me this evening, with the gray hair. When I first took the job as a building official in 1984, there was a plumbing inspector by the name of Jack Baldwin. Jack was a plumbing inspector for the city of Fort Smith. He had also applied for the job of the building official's job. Jack came and sat down in my office. There was no animosity whatsoever, but Jack said what the city of Fort Smith needed was somebody that cared about the job, somebody that cared about the city, somebody that cared about Fort Smith. And how true that still is today. And you could put your name and your community and fill in the blanks. And that's what's most important for you as a code official. If you're just beginning, you need to be a caring and compassionate person. Regardless of what the pay is, that's the most rewarding thing, to make a difference. Many years ago, as I was beginning my service and serving in technical committees at the Southern Building Code Congress, I really never saw a future in serving on the business side of things in the board of directors. That just wasn't for me. I was a code geek that loved just getting into the code and working on projects and spending an hour with somebody on the technical staff trying to understand a code principle. Many people tried to get me to run for the board. Finally, Mr. Larry Bell, as only Larry Bell could, cornered me in a corridor in a hotel at the SBCCI conference in Myrtle Beach. And Larry said to me as if I was probably one of his sons, and I felt like I was being talked to by my dad, when he said, "Boy, it's time to fish or cut bait." And those of you that are fishermen know what I'm talking about, and those of you that don't, ask a fisherman. But anyway, that was the last thing I remember before I took the plunge. And today, I think some of us need to be finding and mentoring and telling people they need to fish or cut bait. It's time for them to step up, and one day they'll be standing here. There's another person I want to mention this evening. Some of you may be able to see it, you may not be able to. I have a lapel pin on this individual gave to me in whatever year it was, I don't remember. When I wore my first tuxedo to wear it at the first banquet as I was elected to the board of directors. He helped me get elected to the board. He understood the politics. He understood what I needed, and he always referred to me as Uncle Wally. I'm not sure why, but I want to just make mention this evening that he was always a good friend and helped me in a lot of ways that you never know. That was Phil McMahon. And then there was Bill Tangy. You know, what did we not learn from Bill with all of his great wisdom, his great leadership, the knowledge that he had, and the vision that he had? Bill said great things like, we will eat this elephant one bite at a time. And you think about it, you're still doing that today. ICC board members, you recently went through some difficult times. You didn't just solve it all at once, you did it one bite at a time. But most importantly, they told me and a lot of people, and just paraphrasing what he said, the membership will always get it right. They'll make the right decision. And as I was on the board, as the board president, and as I was chairing many of the very difficult and controversial committees, that was the point of comfort, that the membership, you, would always get it right. You would always make the right decision. And lastly, it would be Bob Fowler. Even though I did not know Bob, I actually have a folder in my desk that's entitled the Bob Fowler White Paper. Also included in that folder are some white papers by some great people, former Bob Fowler Award winners like Mr. Jim Seeley, who was a close friend of Bob's. But Bob wrote this white paper, and I went back and read it again several times before this evening. And I thought about it and how much inspiration that Bob had in that paper and how much he still gives to us through those words that were in it. He opened the paper by saying, and of course you need to go back, and some of you don't remember and some of you do, during the early days and the founding days of the International Code Council, there were people saying that it would never happen, we couldn't do it. And Bob opened his paper by saying, aeronautical engineers tell us that the bumblebee theoretically should not be able to fly, and a number of observers of the United States code system tell us that we can never develop a single national voluntary model code for this country. We know, however, that the bumblebee does fly, and I believe that we can make the single code system fly. And Bob was right. And the wisdom in those words is that the International Code Council, and the wisdom in those words for me, and it was as it was for me and for the previous leaders of the organization and for future leaders of the organization and current and future board members, is that the International Code Council still has many challenges ahead of itself. Many that you know about, many that you don't have a clue that are just on the horizon that you're about to face. Let's remember Bob's comparison to the bumblebee and what we have already accomplished. No challenge is too intimidating. No challenge is impossible. We and you have proven that again and again and again. Bob also in that same paper encouraged everyone to get involved and not sit on the sidelines. Many were just at that time against change. Bob said, what we need are committed individuals who instead of criticizing will get involved and make this work. Some of you remember whenever I was traveling and talking to your chapters, I used a phrase called the cave person. Any of y'all remember that? Citizens against virtually everything. Cave. It's a phrase we use in Fort Smith, and I think all of you probably have those at your council meetings. I encourage everybody, don't be a cave person. And Bob was saying that same thing. If you see a challenge, lend your support to find the solution. Be involved. You know, today we have an alarming number of retirements on the horizon that we heard about today and we've seen by the NIBS report. You know, I challenge you, like I said earlier, to find someone and tell them it's time to fish or cut bait, or just find them and start cultivating them and start getting them ready. But also this evening, I want to challenge every chapter that's here this evening, and those that may not be. Take it home with you. Spread the word. Chapters, you need to start developing not only chapter leaders, you need to start developing national leaders. Now more than ever, we need to continue the effort to raise the profile, as we heard this morning, raising the profile to encourage current young code officials and attracting new talent. One thing I hear from people, some of the recent conference calls I've been on with the membership council talking about raising the profile, there are those that say, I can't speak, I can't do a PowerPoint, I can't do this, I can't do that. But you can do your job as a professional, because people are watching you every day. People observe how you handle a situation. They just realize how educated you are on the subject, how compassionate you are about your job. You can raise the profile by doing your job with caring, with the attitude of making a difference, with the compassion and the realistic expectations for the situation. Don't get overly wrapped around the axle on a situation, but remember what the request is that you're reviewing. What you do every day affects how the public and the world at large view our profession. No code official is an island. To borrow a phrase I heard today in the meeting in the future in the town hall, we are individually our own best PR machine, and that's what we need to remember. You know, from the past, Bob continues to challenge each of us to constantly stretch and challenge ourselves, to not be intimidated by the problem, and to remember to not complicate the issue. So in closing, whether you're a new code official, an experienced code official, an industry professional, those in a leadership position, a policymaker, or those that are preparing code changes, I want to share with you a quote from Bob. And we can use this in any walk of life, and you can use it to apply to any situation, but it really applies to us today, I think. Our job, and this is the quote from Bob, our job is to solve complicated problems, not to complicate the solved problems. Thank you very much again for the award. Thank you for your appreciation. Thank you.
Wally, our best wishes to you, the lovely Lynette, and your family. Congratulations again. Wally was the president when I first got on the ICC board, and he has been a true inspiration for the work that I have helped accomplish over the years. And I just love Lynette, and I'll always be known to her as Special Ed, won't I?